allows the people of Ghana to take us seriously. If we intend to govern, our capacity to do so must reflect in what we do, even in opposition.
We hear from the National Executive Committee of the NDC. And Top Stories are always brought to you by Vodafone. There is a breakdown in discipline within NDC executive ranks. That is the verdict tonight from a number of retained parliamentary candidates from the weekend's presidential and parliamentary primaries. It has been more than 48 hours since the main opposition National Democratic Congress wrapped up its primaries, and now in the last 24 hours, Joe News has been learning more about the extent of the deep cracks that has erupted within the NDC. Now, more retained parliamentary candidates have now come forward, revealing the inside story of how regional and national executives allegedly violated party rules, conspiring to have their favorites elected. The candidates are now demanding immediate action. One of them is a retained candidate, Felix Kwachifosu, who is also an aide to former President John Dramani Mahama, who himself was elected flag bearer over the weekend, who won the Abura Sebu Kwamankese constituency in the central region.
The difficulty arises when people who have been put in certain positions and who are expected to manage the process act in ways that tend to skew the elections in favor of one candidate or the other. That is where the problem arises from. So, because anybody who loses an election and feels that the process was not fair, it was not balanced, and that things were done in a manner to undermine his or her chances, has a difficulty lending themselves to any reconciliatory process. So that really is a difficulty. Again, Sam George is spot on, and I'm on all fours with him when he speaks about the need to instill discipline in our party. Look, national officers must exhibit responsibility. See, when you are put in there as a national officer, you must act in ways that advance the interests of the party. It is not unusual in politics to have a situation where, based on one or two considerations, the party believes that this candidate is preferable to that candidate. In instances like that, what you use is dialogue and a consultative process to impress upon a person who will be adversely affected as to why it is necessary to make that sacrifice. But if you do not do that, and you attempt to sidestep the process or skew the process in a manner that makes it unfair, then you are going to have some of these difficulties. I had a challenge with a national organizer, and it resulted in some controversy. I'm sure you read it. Yeah. I do not want to go into that. Yeah. But what business did a national organizer have interfering in a constituency election like that?
That's Joseph Yabi.
Absolutely. And AAK is not the only place where he's accused of that.
In fact, in Mutaka's constituency.
Absolutely. You see, the whip must be cracked. You are a national organizer, so organize the party nationally. When you lend such direct support to candidates and move into candidates' territories to interfere in that manner, you create divisions within the party. So I also expect that the national leadership of the party will take a serious view of this, that going forward, they will put in place structures that make it impossible for people occupying such positions to interfere, poke their noses in that manner in constituencies that have some of these contests going on. I am reiterating the point that we should act proactively as a party. Indeed, I have seen instances where regional chairmen have made valid cases before national executive as to why this or that candidate is preferable. And proper steps have been taken to engage everybody involved so that a united front is then presented. Because consensus building, as Dr. Obed Asamoah once said, consensus building is the best form of democracy. So if you believe that Evans is a preferable candidate and has some comparative or competitive advantages that would inure to the benefit of the party, make it clear, make it open, make it transparent, involve whoever is also an interested party in the matter. But do not make it seem that merely because you have power at the national level, you are going to sidestep the process, treat somebody unfairly, and expect that they will come on board. I expect the reconciliatory effort to be deeper. Okay. It should not be superficial or shallow. People have been offended. There are those who can let things go, like myself. There are also those who hold on to grudges forever.
Mutaka said that.
Absolutely, there are those.
Not to forgive.
Well, I do not believe that people don't forgive in politics. I certainly do not hold those grudges. There are those who also have a long memory and therefore do not readily forgive. They may not speak, but they will act in ways that undermine the party's overall chances in constituencies and even at the national level. But everything boils down to running the NDC properly, like a professional organization, where office holders and duty bearers perform their tasks devoid of emotion or interference, where there is transparency, where there is candor, where there is consultation, where there is involvement. If these things are in place, we will not have some of the difficulties that we are having at this particular moment. So I believe that all is not lost yet. We still have sufficient time. And knowing President Mahama for who he is an honest broker. He will stamp his authority on the process. I think that the current national executive ought to be given time to find their foot. I think they came into office at a time when the contest was upon us. So perhaps they didn't have sufficient time to master the process. But in the circumstance, they've done a sterling job because overall, it's been a huge success.
Absolutely.
There have been pockets of difficulties. There are some places where elections had to be put on hold for very good reason. And I'm sure that the process will be undertaken to ensure that those outstanding constituencies are also delivered. But going forward, I expect some kind of overhaul in the way that we manage our electoral process. For instance, there were too many controversies about the register. I had to engage in a battle with the regional executive of the central over a month. For over a month, we were trying to resolve difficulties with the register, which should be fairly easy to deal with. There were efforts, to tamper and interfere with the register, and it took us 1 month to resolve. Precious time was wasted on something that should have been pretty straightforward. Somehow we managed to resolve it. Even on election day, it popped up, but we managed to use dialogue to resolve it peacefully. So I am saying that these things ought to be avoided going forward. We've been in place for about 30 years. These things should not be happening. We should operate in a manner that allows the people of Ghana to take us seriously. If we intend to govern, our capacity to do so must reflect in what we do, even in opposition. That is the only way that we can win the confidence of the people of Ghana to give us a mandate to govern. But if we do not do things properly, and the simple matter of managing an election like this, forget about the logistical nightmare that elections present. Yeah. But this is something that we've done over the years. So we should not have difficulty. Going forward, we should be mastering the process and perfecting them, not having these difficulties that are self-inflicted. There is also too much personal interest in the way that our party is governed. Rather than acting mechanically like a machine, people take interest in specific constituencies and act in ways to favor their candidates. Yeah. That is, I know that politics is not straightforward. No, there are things, as one prominent MPP founding father said, politics is a deep river, and so things happen. But everything that happens must be done for a purpose, and the purpose should be the overall interest of the party going forward.
And that, by the way, is Felix Kwachifosu speaking on PM Express last night. Also on the show was MP for Ningo Pram, Sam George, who also won his primaries. He says that national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Ketia, must take personal responsibility and instill discipline across board.
Especially from the region, because those forces themselves are grasping for their own lives. And they had better be careful, because in Greater Accra, we will not countenance, because as far as we're concerned in Greater Accra is key and critical for President Mahama winning the next election. And Greater Accra will determine the next president of Ghana. And so those individuals, or that individual who thinks that he can run it like his private enterprise, this is notice. And Ningo Pram was where we served notice to him.
Is he a national executive?
No, regional executive.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying that, and like Felix said, at times the influences come from various levels where people think that they think themselves mightier, when butterflies think of themselves as eagles, and so in Ningo Pram, I told him the instructions he was giving to the EC on phone, he should come as a man onto the ground and come and give the instruction, and let's see, but we would need to mend and deal with this crack.
How?
Discipline.
Absolutely. Who must bring that?
It must come from the national executives, from our national chairman, Asiedu Nketia. And Asiedu Nketia is a man who pulls no punches and like he takes no prisoners. He's got the guts to take tough decisions. As General Secretary, we saw him take very tough decisions. As national chairman, I want to see him bring discipline. That should be, I want to remember Asiedu Nketia as that national chairman who instilled discipline from the national all the way to the grassroots in our party. Fifi Kwete is a no-nonsense person. As General Secretary, I want to see some fight from them. Look, and you see me when I say it, and they say Sam George. The elections in my constituency were held up for an hour.
Yeah.
It happened immediately after Mensah came and left. He came with tanks to come and disrupt the elections.
That it was suspended, yeah.
You get it? You have this man sitting in the in the Council of State, serving under the MPP, and sitting in your Council of Elders meeting. Then you turn around and tell people that people are leaking information. Why can't we call a spade and say, this person is no longer with our party, we are distancing ourselves from you? Until we call a spade in our party and say, look, yes, you are a senior, we thank you for your service, but if you can no longer toe the line of the party, no individual is bigger than the party. But a party that lacks the balls and the guts to discipline errant elders cannot rein in exuberant young people. And so you will begin to have pockets of people beginning to take the law into their own hands. You want to fix this party? Instill discipline. And you instill discipline from the very top. Like the NPP or Hayes Nanado, when he thought he needed control of the power of the party, he kicked out an elected national chairman, general secretary, and first national vice chairman. The party didn't collapse. They went on to win an election 18 months later.
They won it with a historic margin.
Because then discipline was instilled in the rank and file of the NPP. That is what is lacking in the NDC. We need discipline. If the party leadership can't give it, I'm expecting President Mahama as our new flag bearer. Now he's the leader of the party to take that lead role, instill discipline. Bring everybody, like Muntaka said, invite everybody, listen to everybody, and be able to say, this is the way we will go. Anybody who seeks to take a contrary stand to the position of the leader must be shown the exit. You must be dealt with. You see, people say politics is about numbers. I say politics is about good numbers. Because there are some numbers where you put them in your team, they destroy you. Ask Kwabena before.
Why?
Well, haven't you seen his team? Well, it was numbers. But those numbers led him into the ditch.
Now, for MP for Asawase and former Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak, many of them cannot forgive.
One thing about politics, people don't forgive. Because when you do that, people don't easily forgive. They may keep quiet, but they are looking for an opportunity to strike. Because they believe that, look, even in this times of difficulty, this is what some people have done. What if we get power? They may be doing worse because that time they may even be supported with political authority. Now you thought that you were just going to finish me. I've survived. So for those who have lost and those who have won, but they have these concerns, the citizens must listen to them. So I want to encourage that His Excellency will have a lot of work to do. I know it's very tiring. It's very stressful, but luckily, he's very experienced. He has been contesting as Member of Parliament.
So what will the party do about these concerns you just had there? Retained candidates just pouring out their frustration with the system that just elected them. I want to bring in a member of the National Executive Committee, is the Deputy General Secretary, Mustafa Agbande. Mr. Agbande, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much.
I mean, you had your colleagues, your comrades in the party. What's your response to the issues they've raised there?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me line. First of all, I think that we are done with elections. Generally, it's been a very good election. Do people have interest? Yes. Have there been issues? Yes. Our focus is to look at the larger interest. If complaints are coming from people who have survived the election, I think that is not a big. The bigger issue is the ones who are lost. who saying that they have lost our election. And so the effort of the National Executive Committee is to address concerns of elected members and how to bring up those who have lost the election so that we can move together as a family. The National Executive Committee, led by OPP and Johnson as our national chairman, is positioned to reconcile the party alongside the flag bearer, His Excellency Mahama, to see that we have a united going into 2024. We are neither for or against the conflict. The conflict will always be part of politics. And when it comes for us as referees and advocates, our role is to give each of the persons who have complaints a fair hearing. In other words, I also want to think that my senior colleagues who are complaining understand that grievances will not be picked from the media. And so we have an internal mechanism in how grievances are channeled and how they get addressed. And so not to say that they don't have grievances, I want to also encourage that at this time, party members will refrain from comments and actions that will not degenerate the unity of the party, particularly that we are done with election, and also particularly that it is coming from people who are elected or people who have won. They need the people who've done one thing or the other against them for us to go into the election, and that is the most important thing for now.
But they have fundamental concerns. For example, the suggestion that there is a breakdown in discipline within NDC executive ranks. Do you concede that?
Generally, there is discipline everywhere, and the leadership that we have is bold and positioned enough to confront indiscipline. I mean, going to report internal grievances in the media is just as good as taking the party to court, or is just as good as betraying the party. And so members who are aggrieved by a decision and the spirit of discipline understand that those grievances ought to be channeled through internal processes. I've heard them call for leadership must hear everyone up, leadership must discipline. If I'm supposed to be disciplining anybody, I'll first of all discipline an elected member who will run to the media to run to further degenerate or deepen cracks.
But why? They were simply expressing their honest frustration with a system that they believe is broken, that needs fixing. Why would you discipline them? You're calling them possibly betraying the party because they went to the media?
That is so, because, like I indicated, conflict will arise. Internally, we have mechanisms for, addressing grievances. You would first of all want to seek for national leadership if you have a problem with your regional leadership, and then we can address them. And so we would like to just encourage that members of the party would refrain from comments and actions that will further make it very complex or cumbersome for us to unite the front at any level, whether you're an executive, whether you are an elected member, whether you are part of the people who have lost the election. We are in a movement that is called post-election. Post-election is usually a healing period for everyone. And in this healing period, it is not in the good interest of the party to further do anything that would degenerate the pain that one person may have.
But Mustafa, you get a sense listening to these, some of them incumbents and one who just retained his candidature, that the party at the national level, you have neglected to take up your responsibility and sanction your colleagues at the top who violated party rules. Allegations have been made about a few of your national executive colleagues who were in constituencies actively conspiring to ensure that the election of their own favorites indeed become the reality. And many of them say party executives knew about it and nothing was done. And that is why they've had to speak about it the way they have.
If you run a political party like a court, where you have a great function moment against a member. You wake up one day and your political party, you sack everybody. Politics is driven by a fundamental concept of CCC. It's called conspiracy, consensus building, and consultation. Conspiracy will always be part of our politics. Consensus building will always be part of our politics. And consultation is very important. So sometimes it is not a straightforward matter. My national chairman will say that the path to politics is not straightforward. That is why we are in the position to be at the receiving end of everyone's frustration as national executive. We take responsibilities of that because we are leaders of the party. That is why we are encouraging that in as much as leadership is position, and even we are more than capable to invoke our powers given to us to bring sanity in the party. But if you don't take care, at the time you invoke such powers, you would have sacked everybody because no one is doing it. That is why we encourage that. Let us all try and use internal mechanisms where we tolerate each other and allow our differences not to undermine the collective interest of the party. That is what we are focused on. We have a flag bearer. We have parliament candidates of various constituencies. Our business is to get people who have lost elections to join elected members so that we can win. They should not be the ones to run to the media complaining about how unfair they've been treated. They have won election. They've survived the conspiracy theory. They've survived the bashing. They've survived the ganging. What is left and what is more important is for us to push them to achieve their aim. Their aim is to win elections.
Let me ask you then, in the last few minutes, I'm learning that in one of those controversial cases in Ketu North where Edem Agbana won by a single vote and then a recount produced a runoff, the Functional Executive Committee may have taken a decision to settle this. What's the decision if you have the information?
We have taken a decision. A committee led by the national chairman of our party and the general secretary, and all of us were there. We have reached a decision that Edem Agbana declared as a parliamentary candidate for Ketu. We have also taken the time to explain. We've actually perused the issues. Both sides came with their lawyer. We've looked at the issues. They came with content executives. In fact, the regional chairman and his regional secretary were present. One other ruling that the national chairman made was to the effect that pronouncements and words that have a tendency to mar the integrity of executive members or party officials within the sector from the region to the constituency by Edem Agbana. He was ordered within 7 days to use the same medium where he uttered those words to issue unqualified apology to those members. Even before the ruling, Edem stood on his feet to issue apology and further admitted that in the heat of the moment, he made some pronouncements that he himself have realized that were in bad faith. And so those were the ruling of the National Executive Committee.
Thank you very much. That's Mensah Fagbande there confirming to us in the last few minutes that the Functional Executive Committee of the party of the NDC have taken a decision now to declare the Ketu North parliamentary primaries won by Edem Agbana after that very controversial recount that produced a runoff. I want to bring in right now Dr. Ali Duseidu, who heads the political science department at the University of Ghana. Thanks, sir, for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you so much, Evans.
So, if you listen to those three members of parliament, and Muntaka Mubarak is a stall to the party, of course, you have Sam George, and then you have Felix. They are really bitter about what happened, and they're speaking up openly. The party clearly has a big task ahead, trying to unite their ranks and move forward. You just heard the Deputy General Secretary say that they're speaking to the media about their concerns themselves. It in itself constitutes a betrayal of party, and if there's any discipline that must be instilled, they must suffer the consequences first. Your reaction?
Thank you, Evans. I don't think all these people who have the names you've mentioned are small boys in the NDC. They are actually big guys who have seen it all and have worked and toiled for the party. and they understand the available internal conflict resolution mechanisms that has been put in place by the party. So for them to openly speak to the media suggests that either the internal conflict resolution mechanisms put in place are not working properly, or they do not have confidence in it that it will work properly or work equitably for everybody who is a party to the conflict to benefit. So if these people who have toiled for the party and want the party to succeed in every way will now complain to the media, it means they have tried doing it using the party internal mechanisms, or they just believe that.
We may have lost.
So I don't think they are small boys, and I also think that the party has to.
Yes. Hello, Dr. Ali Seidu.
Yeah, and I also think that the party has to take the concerns of these people very serious, because, I think some of them have won, others have lost. Those who have won will need the support of those that have lost to be able to run a complete and acceptable campaign at the constituency level. We have seen in the past that a great candidate, the power of an aggrieved candidate, and how he is able to convince people who were supporting him during the primaries to vote and blouse. And we know that Evans, now what this current parliament has taught us is that governing the country is not just about winning the presidential elections. You will also need majority of seats in parliament to be able to prosecute government business. So, and the NDC has realized how important it is, and the general level of hatred. That's a very extreme word, though, that people have nurtured towards NDC MPs for failing to actually kill some bills that have been coming from the MPP end, and then there's an allegation of collusion with the MPP members of parliament, and then the government at large. And I think some of the people lost their primaries because of those allegations. So I think the NDC is willing to capture power in 2024. And what they have to do is to put their house in order, make sure that internal grievances are properly listened to and addressed in a manner that is swift, so that these people wouldn't see the need to resort to the media. So maybe today they are using the media, the next day you don't know what they're going to do. And once even John Mahama is able to win 2024 and not have majority of seats in parliament, it will be very difficult for him to prosecute government business. So I think collectively they will have to augment and equip internal resolution committees and let them be very swift in responding to the needs of people who complain. They shouldn't take, anybody is not small. So no one is small in the party. Especially when it comes to election matters, especially with the parliamentary. It's just first past the post. One vote can make a difference.
And
so I think they should listen to them, find a way to address those grievances as swift as they can, so that they can rally support and get everyone on board and move forward.
And you make the point about one vote can make a difference. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Seidu, who heads the political science department at the University of Ghana. One vote made a difference in K2 North constituency, where we just heard a short while ago from the Deputy General Secretary of the party that after recount which produced the runoff, the party has now intervened and has declared Edem Agbana the winner. Thankfully, Edem Agbana joins us on the line right now. Mr. Agbana, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, and good evening to all our cherished listeners.
We'll hear from you pretty shortly in detail. Please stay with me for a second. We'll congratulate you on your being declared and confirmed success by the party. First, we have details of other stories making the headlines tonight.
This is Newsnight live on Joy 99.7 FM and affiliates across Ghana's region, 16 regions, and formal probe by the Office of the Special Prosecutor into the work of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining underway as Professor Kwabena Frimpong provides evidence that will pave way for further probe. Also tonight, Attorney General criticizes judges for giving lenient sentences and bail conditions to illegal miners as he pushes for illegal mining to become a non-bailable offence.
Practice whereby bail is granted on very lenient terms, clearly unwarranted. Immediately the bail is granted, the perpetrators of the offense go back to illegal mining. The Supreme Court held that every offense is bailable. Yeah. I find that, with all respect, very much of a challenge.
Also, 22 out of the 50 suspected illegal miners on trial in the eastern region have absconded due to the bail regime. Details plus an update on mine collapse in the eastern region has claimed 7 lives so far.
We need to get the proper equipment and find out if truly only 10 people were trapped. Unfortunately, if there is somebody down there, the person can never be alive because the situation down here is very, very, very terrible.
Also tonight, local authorities scrambling to the aid of Kantu DA Primary School, where it is emerging that teachers are forced to teach under humiliating conditions. In today's edition of Ghana's Schools of Shame, we introduce to you the concept of writing in the air in the absence of blackboards.
With this our condition is very difficult because assuming I was having all the facilities, I wouldn't have been struggling as I'm struggling.
And much later in the bulletin, the death of another Ghanaian high life legend, Kwejo Akwabwa. That and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. Plus, the very latest, the Functional Executive Committee of the NDC has just declared Edem Agbana winner of the Ketu North elections.
Indeed, and let's start with that. This is just developing in the last few minutes. So we've just been speaking to the Deputy General Secretary on Top Story, who confirmed that Mustafa Agbande. You recall, whilst we were covering this extensively on Saturday, first we heard that Edem Agbana had won this by a single vote, and then there was a recount, and then the Electoral Commission declared a runoff. That generated a lot of controversy. The Functional Executive Committee, from what we now understand, have met both Edem Agbana and the other contender in the race, and they've settled now, declaring Edem Agbana a winner of that particular contest. As I introduced him earlier, he joins us. Edem, now I can say congratulations properly are in order.
Thank you so much, my brother, and let me say good evening again to our listeners.
And tell me, what's the feeling now? This was too close to call, and then they say you had to go into a runoff. Now the functional executives have settled this. Give me the reaction.
Well, 8 of us entered into a contest as an aspirant in the contest. I've always known there was a very, very competitive election, and from the results that we had, clearly it was even more competitive than we imagined. Now we have been declared winners. We have always believed that we won the election, but for some little challenges that led to the current impasse, we are grateful to the Special Committee of the National Executive Committee for their ability to bring to a closure all the issues surrounding the declaration of the results. Rather than jubilating, I would wish to use the opportunity to call on all stakeholders, all my team members and the team members of the other candidates to come together and let's work for victory in 2024. Because if out of 1,261 people who voted, I gathered 360 votes to win, it tells you the weight of responsibility that lies ahead. And so, yes, I am excited. Yes, I'm happy I've won the election. But again, I'm not oblivious to the fact that there's a lot of work to be done to help President Mahama get the 85% minimum vote that I promised the good people of Ketu North when I was campaigning.
Have you managed to speak to your key contender who was declared, you and the two of you, it was declared that there was a tie? Have you spoken to him at all?
Yes, he was in a meeting with his lawyers, and so we met at the meeting, and so all of us were there when the verdict was delivered, and so I believe that we'll work together. I will still go ahead and extend an olive branch to him. I will invite him on board so that together we'll work for Ketu North. You definitely cannot underestimate his strength, because he lost by just a vote. So I think that we as a people will do a lot of work to unite and work for a better Ketu North. It is time for us to come together and put the interests of the party ahead of us. The weight of responsibility that is on me as a candidate is very heavy, and I certainly can't carry it alone. I will need the support of everyone, including those who contested, including the campaign teams of all the other candidates, all the constituency and regional executives, and everybody else must be involved in helping us retain the seat for the NDC with the 85% margin, victory margin that we promised the people when we were campaigning.
The Deputy General Secretary says in this meeting also, the National Chairman directed that you also render an apology for some words you had uttered shortly after this became controversial.
I did, yes, and I accepted it. I rendered the apology. I was given 7 days, but right after the announcement by the General Secretary, I took advantage of the presence of some media houses there, and I publicly apologized to all those who were affected by some utterances that I made. We all recognize that in the heat of the moment, you know how competitive and the kind of tension that surrounded the elections. I said certain things that the party considered not good enough, and I accepted responsibility and apologized. And I think that is also a hallmark of great leaders. You recognize when you err, and you make the apologies and not repeat those things again. So I apologize already, but I can use your platform again to apologize to all the executives that were affected by some of my utterances, whether the regional or constituency executives. Like I said after the meeting, we all need to come together and work together to build the Ketu North that we want. We need to do a lot to get all the votes that we can for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to become President of the Republic of Ghana in 2025.
Thank you very much, Edem Agbana. Edem Agbana was the former Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC and won that elections initially. There was a recount. It turned out to be a tie, which became very controversial. That matter had now been resolved. He's been declared winner of that particular contest. Still here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM.
Ever visited a shop, picked a whole basket of provisions, toiletries, and very essential things you need, battled a long queue to finally pay, only to be told you can't pay to a merchant number? The way that thing they pay, but with Vodafone Cash, there is no problem. Now on Vodafone Cash, you can pay all merchants on all networks. Easy peasy. Aye straight. Aye direct. Aye sharp. From your Vodafone Cash wallet to any merchant number on other networks. So whether you are buying provisions or fuel, medication or food, whatever the service or need, just pay conveniently from Vodafone Cash to any merchant number. Simply dial *110# to make payment to merchants on other networks today.
Vodafone.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2 and 3 bedrooms both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bellpack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Bellpack is simply the best. Bellpack, just perfect.
To be a Bellpack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bellpack.
It's a live your news night. It's on Joy 99.7 FM.
Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is set to open a formal probe into content of the Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng report on illegal mining. Well, the former Environment, Science and Technology Minister, who also served as the chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, today provided more details on his expose when he appeared before investigators at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. There's more in this News Desk report.
On April 20, a leaked report compiled by Professor Frimpong Boateng had the former minister name some top government officials as being complicit in the illegal mining menace.
My report was not to indict anybody, but just to tell the one who asked me to write the report the problems that we face and what I think should be done. It may not be a perfect report, but I stand by everything that I wrote. Every Ghanaian is committed. We should show our commitment in the way we act. And eventually, the final analysis, the state of the water body, the state of the forest, and all these things will tell us whether we are committed or not. We can say anything, we can investigate anything we want, but in the final analysis, we have to look at what is happening on the ground, and then we can take our own decisions.
In the report, the renowned heart surgeon indicated that the rot goes as high as the seat of government, the Jubilee House. Professor Frimpong Boateng stressed that the allegation of some 500 mason excavators seized from illegal miners in 2020 were fabrications of some persons in government to get him sacked. Following the claim, there were calls from a section of the Ghanaian society for the state security agencies to look into the report. Subsequently, President Akufo-Addo asked the Ghana Police Service to probe the matter. Today, before the investigators of the Special Prosecutor, Professor Frimpong Boateng provided response to activities and expenditure of the dissolved Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining related to the seizure and management of excavators, machinery, road vehicles, and gold nuggets. But Attorney General and Minister for Justice Godfrey Dame says the content of Professor Boateng's report does not tell the whole story.
I will indicate that, or it suggests that it is not the full perspective of issues that were addressed by the respected professor. It is just his view on certain matters. And it is being put through the processes. I understand that there are some petitions as charged and Special Prosecutor's Office. That is the process that we...
He, however, insists the work of the Interministerial Committee helped in addressing the damage to the environment caused by mining firm Imperial Heritage.
The Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining has succeeded in seizing the equipment of Heritage Imperial. For me, it lies foul in the mouth of any person to criticize the actions of the IMCM at that time. The hypocrisy will be manifest when you take account of the fact that after I had made an application to the High Court, just on hearing the discussion on Joy FM, unfortunately the High Court had upheld the application after a lot of arguments and all that. Then those who were actually berating the government for incurring such judgment debt started questioning why the attorney has succeeded in getting the judgment set aside. And I felt that was really without basis, and if for nothing at all, it ought to be commended.
Well, let's bring in Elton Brobia, Presidential Affairs Correspondent, monitoring events at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, joining us via phone with further updates on today's investigations. Elton, what have you been able to pick up from the OSP?
Right, so Emefa, information I've gathered, and I'm still digging, suggests that the interrogation lasted for about an hour and 45 minutes. What I'm picking is that this was just to set the tone for further interrogation on the matters that are before the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Same matters that were, given to Professor Frimpong Boateng to prepare to appear before the committee today. So at 10 a.m. he was there with his lawyers. And my information is that after an hour and close to 45 minutes, they brought today's proceedings to an end, with the hope that they will continue to engage in more. So today was to set the tone for what is to come and to get him to provide all the information that the special prosecutor requires to enable them to come to a decision. But what I'm picking, even though yet to be confirmed, is that at some point during the interrogation, the officers were in a dilemma as to prefer charges against the professor, charges that may have led to his former, if you like, arrest and caution. But that did not happen. That is what I'm picking. And that's after this back and forth. Professor Boateng was discharged with the hope that he would be called upon to assist the committee in their investigation. My information is that they did not go into the content of the report that he submitted to the Office of the Chief of Staff, but he made it clear to them that he did not leak the report to the leader. Indeed, he submitted the report. There are only two people or two officers that officially give that report to: the Office of the Chief of Staff and the CID, that's the Department of the Ghana Police Service. And that the CID or the Chief of Staff office could have been the reason why the report is happening. And the only reason why he's out there speaking to us is that some people tried to distort some facts in the report. But that was not the issue before them today. Today, they started with the issue of the work that the committee did, the reference that was made to him to prepare and appear before it, including the seizure of the excavators, the gold nuggets that the claim is that, could not be accounted for, and that the committee should be able to provide information about the whereabouts of the gold nuggets. Also, expenditure regarding the entire operation. These were some of the things that they requested of him. But today being the foundation stage, they are hoping to engage him more on subsequent real issues regarding the work of the committee, and then hopefully come to the report that he submitted. According to him, from what I'm saying, the report is submitted to the Chief of Staff and also to the CID, because it's also being interrogated by the police administration.
Okay, but Elton, do we know when next Professor Frimpong Boateng will be appearing before the OSP for further investigations to continue, like you've been saying?
It is unclear for now. My information is that they've told him that he should stand in readiness to be called upon any time to appear before the OSP.
And are they looking at other personalities involved in this to be invited too by the OSP?
Already we've been told that all they needed today was to have him confirm officially before them that he authored this report, which has become a major, media scrutiny. And he did so today. Even before doing that, my information and for my checks with the OSP, pointed me to the fact that they have actually lined up tall list of people that they'll be inviting to assist in their investigation. Already, a former secretary of this committee is already in court under the auspices of the OSP, and there's been a back and forth as to when he will appear before. Because already, according to them, the process is already ongoing. They are only getting into other areas because of the report that's already in circulation.
Okay. That's Presidential Affairs Correspondent Elton Brobe with details from the OSP.
You're still listening to News Night on Joy 99.7 FM. Tonight, local authorities in the Wild West District are now scrambling to provide much needed support as a dedicated teacher, Matilda Dosola, in Kantu DA Primary School faces an extraordinary challenge in their quest to educate students after a devastating incident where strong winds swept away the chalkboard she had purchased for her classroom. Dosola's frustration gave birth to innovation, air writing. She gestures through the air while her diligent pupils meticulously transcribe the invisible lessons before them. Shortly, we'll hear from some local actors on what help they can provide. First, here is Jojo Kobaner's latest report on Ghana's schools of shame from the Kantu DA Primary School.
Strong winds and heavy rains pulled down a madhouse structure that served as a classroom in Kantu, a community in Wild West District of the Upper West region. The chalkboards were also destroyed. About 3 classes were forced to relocate under a tree. So the teacher in Primary 2, Matilda Dosola, tried to get another chalkboard, but that one was also carried away by another strong wind. Frustrated, she organized a PTA meeting, but the parents are yet to raise enough funds to buy plywood for the chalkboards.
There was a time we called for PTA, so they raised some small amount. But looking at it, it will not reach all the classrooms, and it's not each person that removed the money; it's the whole community. So we are still appealing to add more so that we can get some plywood, and so that we'll be managing for the meantime.
Matilda has started something called air writing. This simply means gesturing in the air for pupils to write.
To write the letter A, slant the number 1 to the left and extend another number to the right. Now, join the 2 lines horizontally.
So this is our A. A B, enter. Enter.
Writing in the air for pupils to write is not only stressful, but also ineffective.
With this our condition, it's very difficult because assuming I was having all the facilities, I wouldn't have been struggling as I'm struggling. I would have just showed there would have been some objects. I will even show that this is that. And
Don't they have my first copy book or the phonetic writing?
Nothing. They don't have.
They don't have what?
They don't have my first copy. There was a time we requested for, like, the parents to come and they said they don't have money.
Kweku was unable to write the letter F, but Matilda did not give up on him.
Hey, Kweku, Karamanu and Tofon Ekowa from our F.
Numeracy lessons are quite easy. The children learn addition by counting stones.
Can you read? Good.
Children without books also write in the sand.
Number 2. Number 3.
It is the reason why the numbers here are also not encouraging. The pupils rather prefer farming to school because of the school environment. One of the children, Asonta, confesses that coming to school is no longer fun because they do not have a school building and enough teachers.
During
the raining season, we miss many classes. We cannot study. The teachers don't come to school when it rains, so we are not happy.
The headmistress of Kantu DA Primary School says they have been trying to get their pupils motivated.
The environment is not welcome. No blackboards. We are sitting on the trees and there are no blackboards for the teachers to use and teach.
A non-governmental organization in the northern region focused on education, School for Life, organized residents of Kantu to form a club to address the needs of the school. Under 8 citizen-led actions for educational accountability responsiveness projects in Ghana, members of the club have written letters to the Wild West District Assembly, but so far, nothing has been done.
We vote all the time, but there is no development. It seems we only exist to vote. We have problems in this school and our community, but they have not been solved. Next time, we will not vote.
Unfortunately, the Wild West District Assembly is cash-strapped.
They themselves have seen that the challenges within the sector are numerous, and so what do they can't sit aloof and not doing something. The assembly normally budget, like in terms of IGF, to generate about 158,000. We never got all the 158,000 within a year.
There's a clear link between infrastructure and quality education. The Ghana Education Service knows it all too well.
Feel very, very bad. Even at times, very difficult for you to visit some of the schools. Because we have seen the situation. If there had been maybe an individual issue, that one we can do. But the case is not like that. The BE's performance is lower. Very, very low.
What's the performance
in terms of performance?
Until government invests heavily in education, the outcome will always be poor in the Wild West District. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Well, so that's Jojo Kobna's report. Evans, we've been hoping to get the District Chief Executive for Wa West, Vida Diorote. Well, earlier she agreed to be on the show, but as we speak, we are unable to reach her. But we'll work the lines and get her to give us some answers. In the meantime, though, we have the Member of Parliament for Wa West, Peter Lanchini Tobu, joining us on the line as well. We are grateful for your time here on Newsnight. I'm sure you know about Kantu DA Primary, do you?
Thank you very much. Good evening to you and good evening to your cherished listeners. Kantu is actually a community within the Wa West district. And I've been there on several occasions, but I've never visited the school. I just got wind of the fact that the school is poorly equipped and there are several challenges. While I was on a tour to thank the people for voting for me on Saturday to continue to be their Member of Parliament, I got the information. I think that it is very appropriate if I find space within the next few days to actually personally pay a visit to the school and assess it to see what the challenges are and see whether we can, in collaboration with the district assembly and the district education director, do something about it.
Well, my colleague Jojo Kobna tells me that at least as part of your District Assembly Common Fund, we know that you've donated some furniture amongst others. But in this particular situation, we are told about air writing, sand writing, and stone counting, which is part of how these students are learning. But since you heard about it, have you been able to reach the DC, those in charge of this, to tell us exactly why the situation is as it is now in today's Ghana?
Well, we all know that education is suffering a lot of challenges under President Nana Akufo-Addo's administration, to the point that I always recount that 30 years ago when I was in school, I had a chair and I had a table provided by government. Today, many of the schools do not have furniture. Personally, I have supported the district education directorate with about 400 dual desks to help ameliorate the pain of students who have to lie on the floor to write or learn. I have supported in the provision of some kind of support to renovate some few schools. And I think that I'm still on course. And sometimes when I see these things, I begin to think about this is an institution that is going to produce the future leaders. If they are so demoralized within such an environment, what kind of future are we producing ourselves? It is quite a touchy area. It is quite a very sensitive area. And I think that all of us should begin to talk about it. Education is key. And if the key is the kind of thing that we are producing today, I don't know what door that kind of key can open tomorrow. It's a very serious matter.
Well, but we're also told about a school that is in the area that has been abandoned. I don't know if that has come to your attention. Meanwhile, these students are outside learning when there's a facility that they can be in. Do you know about the situation also?
Excuse me, what has been abandoned?
A school building, we are told, in this particular area that has been abandoned, completed. Meanwhile, some students are sitting outside learning.
I am not well informed about this. I need to cross-check before I can respond to that.
Okay, we're grateful then. We'll leave it here and follow up on this particular situation, especially in the Wa West area. And that's the Member of Parliament for Wa West, Peter Lanchini Tobu.
Thankfully, the Wa West District Chief Executive is joining us. Vida Diorote is on phone right now. Hello, Vida. Thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Yeah, good evening. And then...
let me ask you about the Kantu DA primary school. Do you know about the challenges that they've been having to deal with? Hello, Vida Dorote.
Hello.
Can you hear me, madam?
Yes. I say good evening to your cherished listeners. And then I will try to answer your questions. I was somewhere, but now I'm away from where
I'm asking you about the Kantu DA primary school, where we've been reporting the whole day after we visited the place, the tremendous challenges that the education officials there, the teachers are dealing with. Things as basic as a chalkboard they don't have. Has that come to your attention, madam?
Are you talking about school?
Kantu DA primary.
DA primary school.
Yes.
And the question, could you please repeat the question for me?
The state of that school as we speak. We visited the place. Teachers there don't have stuff as basic as a chalkboard for the children. Has that come to your attention?
Okay, that one, I think one time the safety supervisor made mention of it to me. And then I took the pain to visit the school. I met the head teacher and then some of the students and equally saw the situation. Then I told the teachers and then the pupils that the assembly, it was the district assembly that put up the school, and it was ripped off. When it was ripped off, they were supported to re-roof the school, and then I think the storm ripped it off again, and then the community members also came in to do it. So it is like I don't know. The rainstorm has been hitting that school building so hard. But the assembly, yes, we are doing something about it. We have put it in our plans, and then we are mobilizing resources to actually, there is another uncompleted building. So even if that one building has been ripped off severally by rainstorm, then we are making plans to complete the other uncompleted completed building. And so we are in the process of actually helping the school to be a good school for the children to stay in and learn.
In the meantime, they will need a chalkboard for the teachers to use as a learning facilitator. When can you provide that? Because it wouldn't take much for the assembly to find money tomorrow and provide that for the school.
Like I said, I can't give a specific time that we can provide. We can provide the blackboards for the school, but the school they have been benefiting from what we call the capitation grant, and then there is yet another grant known as the Gallup school grant. So the teachers, they can equally use such money to procure these little things for the youth in the school. So the head teacher through the safety supervisor, I think normally they prepare the space, take it to the education office for vetting. When it is approved, then they can use the money to buy some of these items for the teaching and learning in the school. So equally, I will take it up to the education director and then district director of education, so that we see how they can quickly approve that money for the head teacher to use to buy the blackboards for now, and then we'll work to re-roof or to complete the other uncompleted building. I think it is a 6 unit with a fence. So if we are able to complete it, then the school can be, the teachers and the pupils should be using it for their teaching and learning.
I mean, madam, we are talking about a chalkboard here, and many will say a chalkboard for 6 classrooms in a place like that won't cost more than 2,000 cedis, even far less than that. Because, in fact, the teacher tells us the community contributed to buy some plywood, but they couldn't buy everything. So they've done their bit. It won't cost more than 2,000 cedis. The assembly cannot find 2,000 cedis tonight or yourself to provide that for the school children to learn tomorrow?
It isn't that the assembly cannot provide that amount for the procurement of the blackboards. But the question is, the school grants, the capitation grants and the Gallup grants. What is the school using, the head teacher using that grant for? Like I said earlier on, it is for some of it.
My information is that the school
isn't that from the state central government?
The school hasn't received money to the school. Yes, the school hasn't received the capitation grant you talk of.
And they cannot use the money to buy chalkboard. How much plywood cost? They can use the money to buy a number of them. And then a carpenter can do it nicely for them to be using.
Madam Diorite, my understanding is that the school, they've not received the capitation grant you talk of.
And they should use the grant, and then something will come in. Because, like I said earlier on, there is a family that put up that first structure. And they didn't complete. So the first structure, if it is came in once to support. And then the rainstorm came and ripped it off again. The community also came in. So we have seen that once it had been the rate of had been done all the time. We will work on the
Madam Dorothy, can you hear me?
Madam
Dorothy, can you hear me?
Yes.
If you can listen, I'm wondering, I hear you say that the school has to use their capitation grant. In the event that the school has not even used the capitation grant to provide blackboards for these children, as a mother, as a DCE, are you not worried about the situation to provide this basic infrastructure for these students?
My daughter, I am not saying I'm not worried as a mother. That is not the case. I am saying that the matter is being handled by the district assembly. But I am saying that in the situation where the assembly will also depend on common fund, district assembly common fund. And so if they come, we are not getting the common fund to use to these basic things for them. I am saying that when the capitation grant is there, for the meantime, they can use it to buy this board and then for use. So that the heavy project that is still there, the uncompleted classroom block, assembly is making plans to complete it. The blackboards will be constructed on the walls in each class, and they can move in. When will assembly get the money to complete the structure? So I am saying that the only immediate way we can all help will be the effect teachers should use that grant to buy some plywood. And then the carpenter will come in, do it, and they'll be using for the meantime. That's what I mean. I'm not saying running away from the problem, please.
We are grateful for your time. That's the DCE for Wild West, Vida Diorote there. And at this point, I feel that, Evans, let's just put money together and get this chalkboard.
Yes, we should. We should put money together and buy a chalkboard for them. And Jojo is here. And Jojo, you've been to that community. You brought us that particular report. As we've been talking, many well-wishers individuals are ready to do so. And in the newsroom, we also put our own monies together and send to our regional correspondent who's close. And we can provide some relief for these children in the immediate.
Yes. I mean, many people are calling. I have 3 people who have called so far. One from the US. That man actually wants to buy them a whiteboard, and he wants to make a commitment to give them marker constantly. He doesn't want a situation whereby the children will not have markers. So we are yet to receive all these things, but definitely we have to do something immediately about it. And you could see I was actually very surprised because we have my first copybook that children can easily learn how to write, but unfortunately these children are unable to writing in the sun, and it's a disaster.
Air writing,
yes.
I have never encountered that before.
I have never ever seen anything like that in my life. It was shocking. But that is what the children in Wild West Kantu DA Primary School endure.
The DC knows about it.
Yes,
she's visited the school
because she
knows the problem. Knows that the wind swept it away, but says, well, bureaucracy, we're waiting, etc. But in the immediate, the kids are still writing in the air.
Yes, the kids are still looking at the teachers in the air while the teachers gesture, and then they write.
You know what's interesting is charades.
One
absolutely.
These are
charade. Yeah. The teacher took her own money to buy a board, and then
the wind swept
it away. But the first one had already been provided.
The community contributed.
So she was frustrated.
Yeah.
You can feel the frustration where you get.
This DC takes her salary, right? And they're talking about 2,000 CDs for a few classes, buying plywood, and she's not ready to use her own money to do it in the meantime and make for her to be reimbursed down the line. She's waiting for the bureaucracy to kick in. We can't wait, and so we'll do our contributions and send to the children up there, and so they can get some relief immediately in the classrooms. Thank you very much, Jojo, for that brilliant work. You can find that report across our many social media platforms and on myjoyonline.com.
We have some messages that we can go through. Kofi Seidu says, how can the head teacher use capitation grant to provide chalkboard when the government owes capitation grant for close to 4 months? And that's the issue that you were raising, that many of these schools have not received their capitation grant just yet. Evans, this one from Godson in Hohoi says, this is a DC who's only occupying space. That's what we're doing to this country. And we have another one. There's a beautiful school in in Sakumono complex. That's this one to which also need maintenance or immediate attention. Anytime I pass by, I cry inside me. Juju Kobna's attention and the team's attention will be drawn to this as part of our Schools of Shame series. And we have this one also that says, Emefa and Evans, how regularly have schools received the capitation grant? If it were an election year, a stretch of road would have been miraculously erected or constructed in less than 24 hours before polls. Oh God, have mercy. Common chalkboards, not even whiteboards. Jonas Tinkrang sends that one in. And this one also comes in. It says, how much is the capitation she's talking about? Maximum 600 Ghana cedis for a whole term, which is not even coming. And that's one of the messages. This one also says she can't give a specific time, and she's talking about feeding program. She's a teacher, and I'm sure. Okay, so that's your comments there on this, and many more of your messages coming in on this particular situation. And okay, this one, okay, well, we get it, and this one also.
People are getting very passionate
yes,
about
very
this,
passionate about this particular issue. I'm also very saddened by it. But many of your messages coming in will keep you updated on this particular situation. Kantu DA will definitely do whatever it takes to ensure that these students do not continue to watch their teacher right in the air, and then they have to reproduce whatever it is that she says. Let's do business now, and Pius Kojobaka joins us with the very latest from the world of business. Hello, Pius.
Hi, Emefa, and such a touching story indeed. We all have to commit and contribute our quota to this, yeah. All right, coming up in business, officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority prevented entry into Kotoka International Airport Terminal 3 departure to arrest defaulted taxpayers. Also in this bulletin, Unified Price Petroleum Fund and fuel market margins on prices of petroleum products increased by some significant amount effective today. This is the business news on Newsnight, brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Ghana Pay and Alliance Life. Straight to our very first story, officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority were today prevented entry into the departure section of the Kotoka International Airport Terminal 3 to arrest about 10 business owners failing to issue VAT invoices. Now, the development left the enforcement team of the GRA with no option than to abandon the exercise, which was intended to pick up the shop owners to begin their prosecution processes. Now, according to the head of the team, Joseph Annan, the airport security were demanding prior notice of the action before they could grant the access. He's been speaking to the media after many attempts to get access failed.
Their issue was that we should have given them prior notice before visiting. But this is a covert operation.
Yeah.
And covert operations, we do not give prior notice. But when you do that, then the aim of the entire exercise is defeated. We want to know what you do when nobody is watching you. That is what it means when we talk about test patches. So we went there, but of course, they don't know what we do. We tried to explain to them, and yet they insisted that we should give them prior notice. When you look at Section 82 of the Revenue Administration Act, we have every right at all times to visit anywhere and everywhere. But the issue is that, and when they impede us, it comes with an offense. But of course, since they don't know, and we are also gentlemen, we are professionals, there was no need for us to exercise our power. So they are saying we should give them prior notice. Beginning from today, they know that we have intentions of coming to them. So hopefully, on Thursday, we shall visit them.
To some other stories, government has assured that it will not compromise on fiscal discipline when the IMF program formally takes off. The IMF board is expected to consider Ghana's program request tomorrow and possibly approve the first tranche disbursement of $600 million. Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam is the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry.
Fiscal discipline means you spend within your means. That's what fiscal discipline means. And so what it means is that we will not have off-budgetary spending. Yeah, government is committed to that, and we want to make sure as much as possible that we have expenditure controls that are working. The minister has already set up a budget implementation standing committee, which I chair, and that is supposed to ensure that whatever we spend on is approved, and whatever we spend on goes through a very rigorous process of approval, so that we can keep our spending within our budget. If we will have any spending beyond the budget, that will increase our deficit levels, and we may not be able to meet the IMF requirements.
Now, Unified Petroleum Fund and fuel market margins on prices of petroleum products have gone up by some significant amount effective today. This was after the National Petroleum Authority today in a letter directed the various players in the industry to increase the margins. George Yafe has the rest of the story.
Before this letter was sent to the various oil marketing companies, bulk oil distributors and other players, anytime a litre of petroleum products was purchased by consumers, you paid 47 pesos as Unified Price Petroleum Fund. However, after this directive from the National Petroleum Authority, consumers from this morning will be paying 28 pesos more on every litre purchased. Again, when it comes to the fuel market margin, consumers were paying 4 pesos as the margin. For May 16, 2023, the margin paid on each litre of petroleum products is 9 pesos. The National Petroleum Authority, in a letter seen by Joy Business, claims that the increase in the Unified Price Petroleum Fund is to ensure that freight rate for transporting of petroleum products to the various service stations in the country reflect the current economic conditions. This levy or fund is used by the National Petroleum Authority to keep prices across the country the same, irrespective of the location. The authority also claims that the fuel market is to ensure that the quality of petroleum products are not sacrificed.
Finally, before we go, the Credit Association of Ghana has commended the Bank of Ghana for the robust regulatory support for the Tier 4 banking industry. According to the board chairman, William Ofori, the central bank has brought stability to the industry, enhancing the safety and soundness of the players. He was speaking at the launch of the association's ERP software and member portal designed to meet regulatory minimum requirements.
In fact, BOG and all those see microcredit as one of the big associations doing very well in the industry. Our challenge was with the data. That is why we asked GIZ to help us to fund this member portal. And therefore, this member portal has been launched today. The idea of member portal is that we'll be able to get data for our businesses, for Bank of Ghana, for Government of Ghana, and for all our stakeholders, both within the country and outside the country.
And that's it by way of business here on Newsnight with me, Pius Kojubaka. Back to you, Emefa and Evans.
Thank you very much, Pius. And we're getting ready for Champions League action in a bit. But I have some unfortunate news. Ghanaian high life legend Kwejo Akwabwa has died. I'm sure you know him, right?
I do, because of the son. Yeah, Apawu.
Yeah, the popular high life musician passed away at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi in the early hours of today. Well, the announcement of his death was made by his son, Gladstone Akwabwa, also a musician known in contemporary Ghanaian music as Akwabwa, like you've just said. He tweeted, or in a Facebook post also shared a photo of his father with the caption, R.I.P. Daddy. Richard Kudunyako has more.
A talented keyboardist and often played with some of Ghana's great musicians. The late Akwabwa took inspiration from his father, popularly known as Master Kwabna Kwabwa, who was also a musician. He was also a member of the legendary Ghanaian high life band, the Ohiniban Team Berima Band. Kwejo Akwabwa is known for his popular song Arechiche, which he recently remade with his son Akwabwa Jr. The remake of the song, which was accompanied by a beautifully recorded studio performance, caught the attention of many and enjoyed massive airplay. As a master keyboardist, he played for tons of international and local bands. Prior to his death, he was reported to have been battling with glaucoma, which made him lose his sight, and even in such circumstances, he played live band shows, exhibiting his dexterity and versatility with a keyboard and his unique voice.
Song legend has fallen. May his soul rest in perfect peace. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of Newsnight. You want to sing that song to take us out? Well, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, I never knew that you used to sing in the choir.
Oh, no.
You did a nice rendition.
The sports team up next with Champions League.
And the lads are taking over. You want to stick and stay. And joining us right now is a setting gentleman called Gary R. Smith. Gary, what's in stock?
Yeah, wow, whose voice was I hearing again?
A setting Emefa pal.
Oh, okay.
Akwabawa.
Akwabawa. Ah, okay. You mean Akwabawa?
Akwabawa, exactly.
Right. Oh, behave, Zach. Anyway.
What's in stock?
Charlie. We're there inside. Last week, who did you predict will go to the final again?
AC versus City.
Right. It's looking unlikely for AC at the moment because Inter had a 2-0 lead last week, and today there'll be the second leg action. But we are on the ground at Bayview Village at Atomic Junction. The crew is there. And we'll be bringing a live broadcast. Of course, you know how Inter and AC matches. So officially today it's Inter versus AC Milan, even though it's at the same stadium. Yeah. It's like Olympics and House of Oak playing, home and away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, back in the day.
Bayview
Village.
Bayview Village.
Yeah.
That's where the action is at.
Yes. So we have a crew there who are bringing the people in the community together, and we understand there's quite a bit of traffic too. So people,
Bayview Village.
Yeah, people are just getting to that side to go and watch the match, and then when the traffic thins a bit, they also make their way home. But the teams are out, so Evans, thank you. Inter are playing in a 3-5-2, and Milan are playing in a 4-2-3-1. That's AC Milan as well. The commentary will be from the UK today, even as we take you to Madina very, very soon. So Inter are overwhelming favourites to reach the finals after their 2-0 win in the first leg. And our coverage is brought to you by Azar